So this video is specifically for any introverts out there who look upon that part of themselves as a limitation, as something which is going to hold you back in life from getting what you want, from having your dream social life. Because for years this was me. I had this idea of what a social person looked like in my head, and you probably have the same idea too. It's of the more traditionally extroverted person. Someone very comfortable being the center of attention, walking into a room full of people and they just don't mind everyone looking at them, or projecting their voice, being the loudest person. Because for me, I was always the opposite of that. I'd walk into a room full of people I didn't know, and I'd instantly try and make myself smaller. I'd try and avoid going noticed. Instead of just walking straight into a group full of people, I was always much better one-on-one. I was not the most talkative person. And when I used to go along to like parties and stuff with my friend group in high school, because they were quite a social group, there were a lot of more extroverted people in that group. Among people we knew, I'd always be known as the shy friend or the quiet friend. I would never be the one like leading the conversations. I'd always be like on the edge of the group, chipping in every once in a while, but generally just not saying much. Or I'd just be standing on my own in the corner of the party, like going through the settings app on my phone. And I always felt like kind of ashamed of myself, like I just didn't fit in with the rest of my friends, they were very comfortable just going up to people that they didn't know and expressing themselves, and like I never really revealed to them just like the extent of my just like anxious thoughts, like how much all of this worried me, like how people were seeing me. I didn't want to be known as that like shy friend. So at some point I decided to like try something different so as to not be seen as that shy person. And I decided the solution was to just act more like these friends, that I was going to up my energy to try and like play the part of a more extroverted person. Basically just like acting in the way that an extrovert would. So I'd go into these social situations, I'd really like put on a brave face, and I'd like talk with way more enthusiasm, I'd talk faster, I'd talk louder, ask people way more questions. Almost like just like putting maximum 100% energy into every conversation. And this worked for a little bit. This would work for like the first 20 minutes. I just like fucking talk so much, like talk more than I ever talked before. But within like 20 minutes, I would just be exhausted. Felt like I was just putting on a character, like this wasn't me. This wasn't me being authentic. This was me like performing for other people. And I kind of deeped this at the time, like I had this realization. It's kind of sad that I have to do this, that I feel like I have to do this. In order to be seen a certain way, I have to start changing my personality. I have to start absolutely exhausting myself just in order to come across a certain way. And I think eventually that thought got through to me. And I kind of realized that like, the problem with all of this is, first of all, I'm believing that there's only one way to be social, and that is the way of the extrovert. I'm neglecting like all of the things that I might be doing right. Even though I am an anxious person, even though I'm not the most talkative, I mentioned that I actually kind of excelled on one-on-one conversations, and I felt very comfortable there. My approach wasn't to just go into like a big group of people and start talking to them. It would always be to like go up to one person first. And even if I only talked to like one or two people that evening, I could pretty confidently say that I made a good impression, I came across well, and I might even have like made a new friend out of that experience. And the second problem is, the root of all of this is just trying to come across in a certain way. It's not accepting that introverted part of myself. It's believing that if I'm not loud, if I'm not comfortable being the center of attention, then, maybe I'm not worthy of their time. maybe they are going to perceive me as shy and awkward, even though like a lot of the evidence that I've found over the last few years shows there's so many different ways to be charismatic, so many different ways to be social and come across well to people. So the main example I want to talk about today is there's a way of being charismatic, of being social, called subtractive charisma. So there's two main types of charisma. Well, there's loads of different types, but these are two main types of charisma I want to focus on. So there's additive charisma and there's subtractive charisma. Additive is the more extroverted type, and it's about what you're adding in to your interactions. What energy are you adding? You know, are you being louder? Are you like in a situation where no one knows each other? You're radiating lots of like extroverted social energy. And when no one knows each other, they do tend to look for the people who seem very confident, who seem very assured of themselves. So that's where additive charisma works. And you see this a lot with like actor and like celebrity types. They're just like projecting this like really, really like loud social energy. And that's because they kind of come from a world where big expression, like being larger than life, having a larger than life personality is rewarded. Like those traits would make you good as someone who, you know, you're up on stage, you've got people like, you're expected to perform for people. But then you have subtractive charisma, which lends itself more to that kind of mysterious personality type. You know, like in the film, like the brooding, kind of like dark, mysterious character who doesn't say much, but people still find them very intriguing. And that's in spite of the fact that they're pretty quiet. And I know I'm talking about movies and stuff. Well, technically, yeah, this example that I'm about to bring up is still to do with movies. But a really great example of subtractive charisma is Keanu Reeves. I've always found him really interesting as like kind of this contradiction. Like he's someone who obviously does like a very public facing job. He's like always has the center of attention on him, like on set. But in his personal life, he is deeply private and he doesn't make too many like public appearances. And he's always just kind of like popping up in random places and like helping people out. Like he's generally just seen as like one of the nicest celebrities. But a part of like what makes his personality so not just like relatable, but like alluring, like people want to know more about him, is the fact that he doesn't give everything about himself away all at once. Like he's not interested in being the loudest, most bold presence in the room. He doesn't like telling you everything about himself, but that makes you want to know more about him. He doesn't talk much, but you're left kind of filling in the blanks. Like this is something our mind does. Like when we don't know all of the information about a person, our mind kind of makes guesses, and we tend to almost add our own meaning, add our own depth. So I guess it's kind of also the archetype of like the old wise character, like the monk or something, or like the village leader in the movies, where maybe he's not talking, but just by like looking at him, you get the feeling that there's like wisdom there. There's like experience, you know, you're projecting your own meaning. You're like filling in the blanks because you don't know everything about him. So yeah, like go and watch some clips of Keanu Reeves. Like honestly, in his public appearances, he comes across like a little bit uncomfortable. But for me, that makes him more relatable because he's not like all these other celebrities. He doesn't want to like constantly just talk and talk and talk. Something interesting is that a lot of these like more extroverted, additive charisma kind of celebrities, they actually receive media training because they just don't come across as likable or relatable to the average person. They get media training to make them seem like more human. Like that's fucking crazy. Like for me, that's all the evidence you need that being really, really extroverted it's not like the hidden solution that you haven't found yet to being more like likable, to being more social. People don't like others, like not to put a negative spin on this video, but people aren't like people don't always find that the most likable. People like a bit of humility. So I guess this video has kind of been all over the place, but just keep in mind that as an introvert, there are still ways to come across as charismatic, as by leaning into that like more mysterious side of your personality, just by like accepting it overall. You can still accomplish just as much as extroverts can, just about going about it in a different way. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say in this video. Take care, man. I'll see you in the next one.